Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have an update for the Pandas eyeshadows for you. And this one definitely is the most exciting one so far this year, so I'm just gonna jump straight in to show you guys how I've been doing. Starting off with the Naked palette, and in here I was working on two shades. The first one was Half Baked. I rolled this in probably like more towards the start of this year, and I don't know if you can see it from there, but definitely in the close-up I hit pan, and I already felt like I was really close. Like I said in my last update, I could smell the pan, and I did indeed smell it because it took me 3 more uses and then I hit pan on it. So that was at the start of like the last month. So excited about that. It took me 45 uses to get there, so it was quite a bit of like uses. But there's pan there, which means I have pan in 3 shades in here, and I have one that I have completely finished up. So this palette is definitely starting to look a little bit more used right now. Now the second shade that I'm using in this palette is Gunmetal, also in this project, and that one I have used 13 times right now. I can see that I've used it at this point, but it definitely is a darker shade. I have it in my outer corner today and a little bit in my crease as well, but yeah. It's gonna take me forever to hit pan on that one. Pretty sure that's gonna be more than the uses that I had on the Half Baked shade, but I'm just gonna keep using it. It's a fine shade to be using in my outer corner, and we will see if I will still get there by the end of this year. Then the next one, the Coastal Scents Creative Me #2 palette. In here I'm also working on 2 shades, and the one that rolled in first was the 8 shade in this palette, and that is the yellow right here. Again, I don't know if you can see from there, and I don't want to blind you guys with the mirror either, but I have hit pan on that one too. I hit pan on that about a week ago, so I've still been putting in a good few uses. I tried to kind of use that as a focus shade together with my Pandas palette shade, so at the start of the month I decided to do that with Half Baked. After 3 uses that wasn't necessary anymore, and then I went to this one and kind of did the same thing with that one. And then about a week ago I hit pan, and that was use number 36. I used an additional 10 times since the previous update, and then one more time today just to kind of show you guys what that looks like on my eyes as well. So I have the green for my Panda palette on the outer part of my lid, and the yellow is on the inside. So pan on this one, and the shade right here, shade number 3 in the palette, if I hold it the other way around, this is what I rolled in a little bit more recently. I used this one another 5 times. Today was the final time that I used it to hit pan on that one as well. It's a tiny pan, like it really is only a little speck, but since I hit it today, like normally I would try to use it maybe one more time just to get it to show up a little bit better, but it's pan and I hit it today. Very excited about that. I knew I was close, but I thought it was gonna be like maybe a week or so into the next update possibly, but it's there. So 3 pans hit this month so far. Really excited about that. So I used it another 5 times, and that one was a total of 19, which is surprising considering the yellow, and I also noticed green like kind of took me around like the 30 something uses. So yeah, 19 uses works for me. And then lastly we have one more that I was working on in here, and that I will be working on for a good while as well. It's a really easy to use shade. It's Sin right here. Using this as my brow bone highlight, have it on there right now as well. It's not my focus shade for that though. I use it kind of in the week leading up to this update just to make sure I get some uses in. But I also have a shade in my Panda palette that I use in a similar way, and my Panda palette will always be kind of my main focus, and that is what is the case right now as well. So I've used it this week for another 5 times, and I feel like you can barely see I've used it, but it's also because I use a bigger brush on it, so I'm using it a little bit more evenly. So I guess once I hit pan, it's gonna be like proper pan quite quickly. But yeah, the extra 5 uses brought me to a total of 24. 24 uses. You can barely see I've touched it. It's gonna take me a little while, but I hope I can finish off the like shade that I'm using in my Panda palette for the similar, like in a similar place in the next 2 months or so. So that would mean that after that I can focus on this one a little bit more for my brow bone and then see where I will end up. But yeah, that is everything that I've been working on for the last month. And like I said, 3 pans, which means I get to roll in 3 new shades. I'm really excited about that. A little bit nervous because the shades that I had here were kind of like more on the neutral side, so they were pretty easy to incorporate with the shades that I have going on in my Panda palette. I don't know if we're gonna end up with something similar, but we're gonna try and see where we end up. So pulling up my pretty random app on my phone, I've got the numbers 1 to 119 because that is how many shades I have left that do not have pan and are not in another project already. I have my laptop here in front of me as well. So I have 165 total eyeshadows. 36 of those have pan at the moment. I finished off one of the shades in my Panda palette, so that kind of like changes things around a little bit again. And that's why my total eyeshadows are 165 now instead of 166. 10 shades are in projects, and that kind of leaves me with, like I said, 119 shades that are left. And my pan percentage, let's not forget about that, because sometimes I do, went from 19.9 the previous time to 21.8 right now. So that is a really nice improvement as well, and it makes me think like I might be able to make it to 25% by the end of the year. I know I'll be using up a few shades as well, so that will affect it a little bit maybe, but considering that I went up with almost 2% like in this 1 month, I think there's hope for me to hit at least a 25%. But anyway, let's actually see what eyeshadows we're going to be ending up with. My only rule for this, as you guys might already know, no blacks, because I have a black that I'm focusing on and I do not want to take away anything from that. But apart from that, everything should be fine. I hope I'm not forgetting anything that I've done before, but yeah, we're going to see 3 new shades. And we've got 25, we've got 61, and we've got 75. So let's see, 25 is a shade from the LA Colors Enchanted palette, which means that's another green, which will be a bit annoying with the green that I'm trying to focus on in my Panda palette. But this is one of the only palettes that I don't really have any pan on yet, so it's going to be exciting to try and get at least 1 pan in that palette as well, because more pans in my palettes. So then we had 61. 61 is in my Sleek Circus palette, which is always interesting, and it's shade number 2. I don't know what shade that is, but we're gonna see. And then 75 is in the NYX Secret World palette, which is nice because I'm already focusing on a shade in there. And that is a 6th shade, which I also don't really know what that is, but we're gonna check. So I'm gonna grab those palettes and I will be back. Okay, I have my palettes here right now. So first of all, like I said, the LA Colors Enchanted palette was the first one that rolled in, and in here it was shade number 2. I already knew this was an all green palette, so I knew I was gonna get a green. It's harder to open than I expected. The closing works a little bit better. Shade number 2 is this one right here, which probably is the shade that is most similar to the one in my Panda palette, but that's fine. Actually, let me quickly swatch the shades that are still left in the project first. So we will have those at the top, and then we can kind of have the whole palette of colors that I'm going to be working on right next to each other. So we have Gunmetal and Sin, which is like one of the darkest shades and one of the lightest shades. So Gunmetal and Sin is what we were already working with. I think you can kind of see Sin at the bottom right there. Then in that LA Colors palette we have that green shade. So I'm going to put that one next to it. Yeah, that really is quite similar to what I'm using in my Panda palette already. Maybe a little bit lighter, almost seems a bit more vibrant, but that's always a bit different when I'm swatching with my fingers as opposed to using it with a brush on my eyes. So Anyway, moving on to that Sleek palette 61, which was it again, shade number 2 in my Sleek Circus palette, which is a purple, which is nice. Definitely very different from most of the shades that I'm... No, actually it's not. This is a shade that one is, and actually I think it is fairly similar to the purple shade in my Panda palette and the 9085 shade that I'm working on for Paula in the Panner's Pan. So this is going to be a bit of a challenge, and it's very colorful, this palette so far. Then in the then in the NYX Strike a Pose palette, I have shade number 6, which is another green. Seems like we're going back to last year, where I was working on loads of greens at the same time. This is what that shade looks like. It's a really nice bright green. I do really like that green. That really is like one of my favorite colors, like in general, not per se for on my eyes specifically, but yeah. So that's another green, and I just rolled a kind of green bluish shade in my whole collection project pan as well. So we've got a lot of greens going on at the moment. And we're nearing fall, which is not per se like the colors that I had before and all these rerolls were more of a fall palette than this. This is a little bit more summery, I guess, but we can work with that. So this is the palette that I'm working with. And let me know if you guys have any ideas on how to use all of this together with everything else that I've already got going on. Actually, I quickly want to swatch the shades that I'm rolling out as well, just to kind of remind you guys what we were working with there. So this is Half Baked, which I hope you can kind of see. It's always a bit of an awkward angle to swatch on the inside of my arm for some reason. Then we have the bronzy shade and the yellow shade in that Coastal Scents palette. And those are these two. So the bronzy shade is right here, the yellow is right next to it, but I think it's quite similar to my own skin tone, so I don't know how well you guys can see that. But yeah, this is what was together with the top two, and this is what is. Yeah, this is going to be quite interesting. I know that Gunmetal and Sin are both shades that I can use quite okay, but they will take forever for me to get through. And then these are going to be competing a little bit with my Panda palette, so I'm just going to have to figure out, like, I might be able to incorporate this one somewhat more easily, but these two are very similar to shades that I'm already working on, so I'm going to have to see what I'm going to do with those. But yep, adding another challenge to this challenge, and we're going to try and see what we will end up with in a month from now. I'm honestly not expecting any pan, but maybe I'll surprise myself, we'll see. But yeah, that is it for today. Thank you guys very much for watching, and I hope to see you in one of my next videos. Bye!